So if you're thinking about buying an RV in the next year or two, especially any kind of a towable, today's video ought to be required viewing. If you watch, I believe that you'll walk away with a fresh new perspective and you'll be better prepared to buy the right RV from the right RV dealer and not get screwed. So the last few years in the RV world have been a real roller coaster, right? I mean, up until 2019, the RV industry was fairly predictable in terms of growth, fairly predictable. But then COVID happened. Yeah. And everything shut down. Then a pandemic boom, and there was interest in RVing like no one ever saw before. Then an inventory glut, rising rates, and yes, some corners were cut. In fact, many corners were cut by manufacturers that left too many folks stuck in what I call RV purgatory, with big payments, bigger headaches, and no peace. Today we're going to cut through the noise with a friend of mine who tells the truth even when it stings, Kevin Frazer from Cheyenne Camping Center. I love this man. I do. In my view, there isn't anyone in the RV industry who is more honest, more genuine, or more helpful than Kevin is. His dealership is one of the most trusted RV dealerships in America, specializing in forest river brands. And I believe they're the largest exclusive forest river dealer in the country. So anyway, in this long, candid, and raw interview, Kevin and I talk about where the market really is, how we got here, and how the industry can clean up its reputation. We will expose some of the payment games, the add-on traps, the too good to be true deals that you should run from. And we'll show you what smart, prepared buyers do instead. Now, this full interview, by the way, lives in the Cheyenne Camping Center playlist here on my YouTube channel. I hope that as you watch, maybe you'll have a notebook close by, share it with a friend who's shopping for an RV, and drop your comments down below. I read every one, and I can't wait to hear your take. Now, this is a very long video, but it's good stuff that will help you be a much smarter RV buyer. I read in the industry publications about how things are getting better in the RV industry. Where are we today? Because what a crazy last 4 years or so it has been. I'd like you to start with, where do you see the market today? And then we can talk about how we got here and maybe how we're going to get out of it.
Okay, this mess didn't start 4 years ago. We had a down year in 2019 mostly because of oversupply. The industry built too many and things backed up. And then we got to 2020, and 2020 started out as a very unusual year. Nobody knew what was happening, and then the bottom fell out. If you'll recall, the pressure concerning the COVID virus was first manifest in December of 19, but then it accelerated all through the first part of the year. The bottom fell out of the market. The bottom fell out of the economy. People didn't know what the hell was going on. And we got into the spring of the year, and then it was decided that really what we need to do was all get in our RVs and go out in the country where there's no virus. And that caused a boom in the RV industry. And that boom was fueled by people that probably shouldn't have been buying RVs. If we got a call from somebody that lived in Brooklyn, New York, and their yard was 7 by 8 feet, I told them, maybe you're not, but no, we got to have a camper because we got to get out of COVID land. The boom accelerated throughout after the first few months of 2020, and it accelerated into 2021. And it went crazy.
And the manufacturers were making stuff hand over fist.
As fast as they could. That didn't matter to them. Some of the stuff that was created, the stuff that was built, was so beyond any kind of quality standards that it was breathtakingly bad. Now, I'm a homer for Forest River. You know that.
Right.
Warren Buffett's company is the best maker of RV. We've been exclusively Forest River. Well, since there's been Forest River, 96. And I do love them, but there were divisions of Forest River that went dark. And they would build stuff just to get it out the door. That you would go through a model year with tremendous changes so that stuff that was built at the beginning of the 21 model year bear little resemblance to the stuff that was built in the middle and built at the end. They were changing inputs and they were hiring people from everywhere that they shouldn't have been. And so we built many, many hundreds of thousands of units of crap.
That probably should not have been built. But
but they shouldn't have been sold either.
But you can't, in a sense, you can't blame the manufacturer. I mean, the demand is there. People want to buy the stuff.
But let's talk about how that eventually led to our current situation.
Yes.
Because the market wasn't just oversupplied. It was like in the 21 model year, we built and sold 2 years of product. And then in the 22 model year, in February of 2022, Putin invaded Ukraine and the market was already slowing down. And when the war in Eastern Europe commenced, the light switch was off. It stopped. And all the 22s that had been ordered, and there had been a lot of them ordered, couldn't be sold.
Because the manufacturers
no
assumed the demand was going to continue, the war starts up, and now the RV industry is caught pretty much flat-footed.
There are makers, and I'll tell you what their names are, that force the dealers to take stuff even though there is no apparent demand. It's going to happen, and you signed a contract. Oh boy. So what we had as a result of the end of the market suddenly in February of 2022, suddenly we had all those 2022s that were waiting for show season and spring selling that couldn't be sold until later that year, well into the 23 model year. So what happened to the 23s? They had to wait until 24.
So there's a backup
of one whole model year, one entire model. There's dealers that still have 23s in stock today, and there's a lot of dealers that got a bucket load of 24s in stock. Well, what's the value of a new 24 that's been sitting on a lot for a couple of years?
It's 2 years old.
Well, there's a lot of thoughts behind that, but usually in normal times, what happens is that you have inflation. Our very own Federal Reserve says you should be happy with 2% inflation. It's normal. It's good for you. And the inflation would have carried the price of the new 25 so high that those 24s that were left over and 23s that were left over would look like compelling bargains that you should buy.
Yes.
Well, no, that didn't happen, because what happens, inflation always causes a recession. Well, this time, inflation definitely added, but the proximate cause was the invasion in Eastern Europe. And so all of a sudden, you got inflation, which caused a recession, on top of a war, which caused inflation and recession. And they're backing everything up to the point where it's just, the market's just saturated. Meanwhile, because of that ruinous inflation, people are poorer. Now, I'm not talking about just people, because every time I read about the economy, I learn that Richie Riches, the people that are above middle class, are extremely well off.
Right.
Look at what the stock market did. Well, that's fine, but the guy that connects one pipe to another pipe, he saw his wages stagnate. He's our customer. We don't sell $300,000, $800,000 motorhomes. Our customer is backed up, and he's getting squeezed by all the inflationary pressures. And okay, what are the things that hurt people that they didn't see coming? Insurance rates.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh.
Food costs. Now, are they backing up? All we want is stability. All we want is incomes to go up so that we can get there. But I think your question is, where are we going from here?
Well, I want to get there, but first, back then and up until the invasion of Ukraine,
Yeah.
interest rates were incredibly low, and people
But going up.
going up, but still people were able to borrow money.
And
it was easy to borrow money. We hadn't hit 9% inflation yet.
That's true.
Okay, and the dealers are selling, many dealers are selling inferior products compared to what it was like before.
But inflation, 9% inflation happened about 5 months after the invasion.
Yes, and then so it was like market's going the wrong way. You got the prices going up, but my income as John Q. Public stagnant.
Or worse.
So I'm losing every single month.
You're losing purchasing power. You click on the computer and you find out that your car insurance just went up $100 a month. $100 a month? Yeah. What the hell? And all of your income is being sucked up by things that are non-discretionary. And RVs are the ultimate discretionary thing, right?
Right.
You don't need one. Well, some people do, but you don't really need one. And that's what happened. And so we get to 2025. Now, I'm going to tell you stuff about Cheyenne Camping Center that's Cheyenne Camping Center. Whenever there's a recession, and we've been doing this since 1966, we're always the first ones in. So the horror show that just beat everybody up in 23, or well, actually, we got beat up in 23 when other dealers didn't really notice the horror until 24. So you asked about when are we getting out of it and how are we getting out of it? Well, so far our 25's been a little better than other dealers have been. And I'm hearing stories that tell me that what they're experiencing in 25 is very similar to what we had to go through in 23-4.
Now, why is that? Because it sounds like to me, because I remember after the invasion in Ukraine, you guys, it was hard because you don't take any deposits. I mean, you didn't require a deposit from people that were buying an RV and then they canceled, right?
No, we don't. We don't do business that way, no. So, yeah, we're always the first to get smacked, but I think you need to get to the basic reason why. Cheyenne Camping Center has, since forever, said we market to the smart people. The other dealers can have the morons. And the smart ones were the first to recognize that things had changed badly, and they were the first ones to back up. Now they're coming back because they're the smart ones that realize things are okay, prices have stabilized, and look at where I am. I'm fine, I can now afford that new Flagstaff. So when you say that we were the first ones to go down, it's because our customers are smarter than just the regular RV buyers. They're more deliberative, more aware of the situation. So now we've survived 3 bad years in a row, but along with the other RV dealers and manufacturers. And what's happened during those 3 years that gives the advantage to Cheyenne? Remember, in the mess first, out first. No matter what it costs, we held on to our people. The people that work here today are the same people that worked here 3 years ago. I get the calls all the time this year. How come you're the only ones that know the answers to my questions? And my sales and parts and service guys are the only ones that hear this. My operations manager said to me yesterday, if I didn't work here, I'd think our reviews were fake. Because we take care of people. And because we know what's coming at us, we've got our inventory controlled. 3 years ago, my inventory was a catastrophe because that war switched the switch.
That's why you were the first in.
First in, and first in badly.
Okay, so, I mean, I just got to bring up the elephant in the room. People, you're talking about smart people, there's a lot of people that just got their heads chopped off financially. They went in and they wanted to buy the dream, and they were so over their skis that now they're facing, you see it, we were talking about it downstairs. You see it all the time. People are upside down.
Oh, it's worse than just upside down. Let's cite just one example because it's from last Friday. Couples had their trailer for 5 weeks. And it was not purchased from Camping World, but it might as well have been. It's worth $33,000 and they owe $67,000. And it's the wrong camper. And their truck can't pull it. And it's got a rotten floor, even though it's new and should be under warranty.
Oh my God.
So how do you deal with a situation like I can't? I have to rely upon the fact that my customers aren't going to bring me catastrophe like that. But I also rely upon new customers. That's the other reason why we're back firstest. My customers are loyal to us, and my customers come back. In a normal year, about 70% of what we sell, new ones, are word of mouth, akavosi. In the last 3 years, it's been over 80, sometimes crowding 90%, because the only people I'm talking to are
the smart people.
But the old customers too.
Yes.
We're not conquesting new ones. So what we're seeing in a higher percentage are the people that know who we are, know where we are, know what we'll do for them. And then we do the best we can, you know that.
How do these dealers, Kevin, the Camping World, the General RVs, these big massive chains, continue to sell these RVs to people? There's so much information out there on the internet now. I've done countless videos about, watch out for this. You were the one that started it, about the truth video.
Yeah.
But how are they continually able to sell these people and put them in these financial graves?
Well, honestly, I believe that there's a more than a smidgen of fraud involved here. Here's where we're at. People aren't expected to be experts on confidence tricks. I don't expect people to be experts on confidence tricks, do you?
No.
So when they get into a high pressure selling environment, and everybody makes fun of the timeshare sales guys, well, timeshare sales guy is a consultant to the selling teams at the big chains, how to do it. We used to do it this way, but they caught on to us, so now we'll do it with RVs. You're not expected to do that. They lure you in with a fake price, and then they add on $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 worth of junk. An ESP, is an extended service protection plan a good idea? Sure, if it's 8% with call service, but not if it's 18 or 28 or 38%. What they're doing is the payment game. It's all about the payments, which brings us to who else is responsible besides these wicked dealers?
The banks.
The banks. Why are the banks doing this? Honestly, I don't get it. But banks and dealers, if consumers are being lured in with confidence tricks into buying a $17,000 trailer and having a $35,000 loan, obviously something very, very wrong happened.
But banks are doing it.
But the bank, now, why is the bank doing it? That has to do with quick money versus long term. And that's the story about, well...
Isn't that a time bomb waiting to happen?
Absolutely. But when it goes off, the people that are making the quick money...
They're gone.
They don't work for that bank anymore. This is the problem with the...
What a scam. What a scam.
Who's our shield? See, this stuff was happening in the 50s, the 60s. Car guys cleaned it up with franchise agreements. The 70s, we got a whole new body of law. You and I are old enough to remember how important this new body of law was sold to us.
The consumer protection stuff.
Damn Skippy. Consumer protection. We can't be aware of every confidence trick that very sharp predatory gangs are using. And if we get cheated, and
we should be able to go to the Attorney General.
Well, more importantly, we have to go to the Attorney General. If some dealership group like Camping World does something truly outrageous, and I end up with a note that's for twice as much as the advertised price, how did it happen? You report these stories, but I hear them too. They don't know how it happened. They signed a paper that didn't agree with what happened. If you complain to Camping World, a battalion of ferocious lawyers will come your way. You will be intimidated. You will be frightened away. You won't do anything about it, or you'll settle for a pittance and a non-disclosure agreement so that you can't even tell people about what was done to you. The protection for that, as discussed and legislated in the 1970s, were consumer protection laws. Why do we have a consumer protection department in every one of the 50 states if they're not going to do anything about it?
Okay, I got to say, I have been writing attorneys general in different states, and I get a response. But without exception, every response, Kevin, I should have brought them with me today, is we checked with Camping World, and here's their response. And it's some boilerplate response that makes the Secretary of State or the Consumer Affairs people say, well, here's the response, nothing to see here. Everybody's happy. I'm like, that's not.
Everybody's not happy.
Everybody's not happy. But it's like they get paid to do a job, they don't do the job, and I'll look that way, you look that way, and we'll just keep on putting it to people.
Because the phalanx of lawyers that intimidated the buyer is there to intimidate the Attorney
consumer.
General.
The Attorney General.
The Attorney General is not the person that does your case. It's an assistant AG.
Yes.
And somebody that doesn't want to have their weekend ruined.
You mean he doesn't want to have to work?
Doesn't have to work. And this is the problem. We put our faith, the highly sophisticated hustlers in our society were to be fended off by our government, and the government's not doing the job. Now, other than the new Department of War, can you think of an agency of government that does their job? But political pressure can make this happen.
But so what does the public do? Because I've been sounding the alarm, you've been sounding the alarm before I did, about we're just trying to be smart, take in the information, be responsible. But when I tell people to contact their Attorney General,
they get the same crap you get.
Nothing. A form letter, and sorry, nothing to see here. That's wrong. There's nothing that you've seen because you won't put the time into it. So what do? Just keep bitching? Seriously.
More or less, unless one of us wins the lottery and we can fund a political action committee to put pressure on the attorney generals. But there's another time you can put pressure on the attorney generals. That's election time. There's an election for a new attorney general in South Carolina, which has some very problematic dealers that are doing some very bad, vicious things. Well, wouldn't that be something that the voters could ask the candidates for attorney general about? Or in fact, in South Carolina, if memory serves, the current attorney general's moving up the chain, wants to be the governor. Now, that means his department has been ignoring some exceptionally nasty occurrences is it the Camping World in North Charlotte? Am I right about that?
Charleston.
North Charleston. Well, sorry, South Carolina. If the boss, the attorney general, tells his assistants, why don't you take a look at this? Why don't you spend some time protecting the consumer?
Then they'll look into it.
And you've already got Oregon working on this, and there's stuff still happening in Oregon, and there's stuff happening in Georgia. But the people got to say to the AGs, do your phony baloney jobs. You've got this, there's literally an army of ferocious lawyers coming at the innocent who was beguiled and defrauded. It's not the fault of the consumer. When the seller, when the hustler, when the operator becomes so powerful and sophisticated that the consumer doesn't have a chance, that's what we made consumer protection laws for. That's what they get paid to do.
So the only way to fight this is to get the attention of the AG's office. And the only way to do that is to continue to press. It's like I'm doing. I'm pressing with the AG's office, with the ethics board at U.S. Bank, because I believe that some of the loans that they've been making, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, but I do have, I think, a little bit of common sense. I'm like, that doesn't seem right. You know?
Okay, U.S. Bank has trimmed what they'll use for collateral. Because there was enough sass that it spooked them. But
we have to push back.
Yes.
Cannot just sit there and take it, and don't go pay your own lawyer, personal lawyer. They'll take your money. But you're not going to get anywhere.
No, they're scared of the same group. These are armies of sophisticated attorneys. These are lawyers that, and then they're going to get you. Oh yeah, we'll give you 10 cents on the dollar, but you got to sign this non-disclosure agreement. Well, you know, complaints to the Attorney General are outside the bonds of any non-disclosure agreement. If you signed a non-disclosure agreement, but you think you were coerced into signing that non-disclosure agreement, you can make disclosure to the government.
I have to stop you. I have a question. If we know it, if the consumer knows it, the dealers know it, how do the manufacturers feel about this whole situation, about people being so upside down? Do they care? What about the industry? I know you can't speak for the industry. You're only Cheyenne Camping Center. But
No,
this is a problem. It's an endemic problem that has to be recognized, doesn't it?
It is recognized, and it's a fight that I lost 35 years ago. Consumer protection laws became common at federal and state level in the 1970s. It was because of very, very bad experiences in the 50s and 60s in every industry, but with particular focus on the car business.
Automotive, yep.
After the World War, there was lots and lots of savings and lots of demand, and not nearly enough automobiles to go around. All those boys and women who served in the war, they got home and all they wanted was a Studebaker, but there were not enough to go around for all that saved money. In those days, without so many sophisticated confidence tricks as are developed today, car dealers ripped people off. That's the nicest way it can be put. They did very, very bad things to the public. People were paying, well, okay, yeah, twice as much as the car was supposed to sell for. Now, what did that mean for, you're asking me, what do the manufacturers in the industry think? What did it mean for the automobile manufacturers and industry? If a Chevrolet dealer took a man from Ohio and fleeced him and left him with, in those days, it wasn't like it is now, but it's relative.
Sure.
Left him with a pile of debt and a piece of junk.
Right.
What happened? Well, that guy is never going to do business with that crooked dealer ever again.
Right.
But he's also never going to do business with General Motors because they did it to him too.
Right.
Now, reputational harm is a big deal. It's talked about all the time, but nobody does much about it. The car guys did. They recognized that they were spending, well, it's billions. You used to have Chevy as a sponsor. Hundreds of billions of dollars building up their brand and their reputation, getting people to trust them.
To have crooks destroying their good name.
In one transaction.
Yes.
And for a lifetime. So they invented franchise agreements. Yep, I'm back up on the soapbox again. Franchise agreements. The car guys brought in franchise agreements in the 50s and particularly the 60s. And every time they don't have solid franchise agreements, things like Suzuki America happen. Your viewers can look that up.
Yeah, yeah.
What a franchise agreement is a contract. It says to every party, and here the two primary parties are the dealers and the manufacturers, these are your responsibilities. You must do these things or you will be sanctioned, you will be punished. Wow, that sounds great. But the poobahs in the industry, including Peter J. Legal, when I came hat in hand, well actually binder in hand, and said, Pete, look at the car guys did this to protect themselves from the end of the world. And he thought about it for years, and then he said no, because it would attract lawyers.
Seriously. Like there's not any lawyers now.
Well,
okay,
yeah.
But hang on. The automobile business, the dealers are way better today. I mean, infinitely better
and
today.
if they do bad things, they are crushed.
And that's why when you take your truck in to get the oil changed, to have service work done on it, how was everything? You get a review, and they get paid bonuses based upon their ratings.
Well, bonus is one way of putting it, but there's financial incentives both directions between the manufacturer and the dealer.
They want you happy. There's nothing like that.
But in those franchise agreements are morals clauses. Most people that follow sports know about morals clauses. There's morals clauses that say if you do this, this, and this, you can be subject to penalties, including the death penalty. What's the death penalty? Total cancellation. We take your franchise away from you. You can't sell these anymore. That happened in my lifetime 15 years ago. The oldest Chevrolet dealer west of the Mississippi got the death penalty from General Motors because they were treating their customers badly, very badly.
And don't we in the RV industry, don't consumers, couldn't they benefit from having franchise agreements, or is the genie out of the bottle? You can't.
The genie's out of the bottle, but. Now, what are we going through right now?
But, I love it.
Right now, we're going through a really, really, really bad depression. This is the worst depression in the RV industry. It was defined as a depression by the academics in September of 2024. So this is bad. Now, when times are bad, the manufacturer should have the juice to say to the dealers, you want to keep selling our product, you're not really keeping up with our targets and our contracts. Some of them have really specific contracts you got to take or pay, So in recognition of the hard times, we think maybe we'll relax those standards that you signed up for if you'll agree to the terms of a franchise agreement patterned on the automobile industry. So the time is possible right now. And if it doesn't happen that way, there are moves in the various legislatures. You're aware of what's going on in the Texas legislature, where there are moves afoot. The legislature says all this nastiness is clogging up our courts, and it's an inconvenience for our attorney general too. So why don't we get some rules in place so that everybody knows what their responsibilities are? So there is pressure for the adoption of franchise agreements, but we're really old. We might not ever see them.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought you were going to say. That's pretty much what I was anticipating. In my view, there are some bad manufacturers, but there are a lot of bad dealers.
The dealers aren't prepping their stuff.
Lazy thieves that don't PDI the RV. They lie. They just simply lie, and it's okay. They get by with it.
And they blame everything on the manufacturer, no matter who's responsible.
Or the consumer.
Well, yeah, that too. But usually that's later after the consumer's frustrated to tears. So your listeners should know my self-interest here. I want you to come by from Cheyenne because we do all the right stuff. And there's other dealers that do all the right stuff too. We're going to prep it. We're going to make it clean. We're going to make sure that you don't have any hassles. And if you're missing a table leg, you're not going to have to wait 4.5 months to get one.
Give me, so the viewers can get an example of how you've seen or you see dealers just dropping the ball, just not doing what they're supposed to do. They get away with it.
The rig comes in from the factory. It came in 11 months ago. It hasn't been washed. Here's the keys. You just signed the contract in the office. Have fun. That's what they do. They've never looked at it to see if there's any faults or flaws from the factory. They've never checked to see if there's missing components. They've never checked to see if somebody used the toilet while it was on the lot for these 11 months. They've done nothing to it. Oh, but I paid $1,100 to have a walkthrough. Yeah, come on. I'll show you everything. Well, that was never a walkthrough. That was just 5 minutes of you talking. That's a walkthrough. And then they take it home and nothing works. And then they call up and then they get a service appointment for 2 weeks from now. And then they get a call or a text in 2 months saying we're still waiting for parts. Does that sound like customer service? Because it's not. It's you wear the customer out, they become frustrated, they either fix it themselves or just
they live with it. They just live with it.
Well, when we take trades in, if it was originally sold by one of the chains, we anticipate it's never been prepped and nothing's ever been fixed on it since it was new. And that's almost universally the case. And these people all have not just regular warranties if it was a new one. They paid really serious, crazy money.
For the extended?
Yeah, extended warranty that's above 8%, something's going on. And that would include remote service. No, they're paying 18, 20, 28, 38%. What the hell? But that's not even covered. And you cite examples of that every single broadcast.
I know.
And so,
But the dealer says, oh, we do a PDI.
Of course they do. They say that all the time.
They're not going to say, no, we don't do it. We hadn't even washed the damn thing. They're not going to say that. So what can a consumer, if I'm going to buy an RV, would I like somebody to come to Cheyenne, give you, as I say, an opportunity to earn your? Hell yeah, I would. But if I'm going to buy from anybody, what do I need to do before I feel the pressure to go ahead and sign here and hook up? We'll see you later.
Well, you need to look at reviews, and I know reviews can be jiggled. Now, there's one place where reviews cannot be easily fraudulent. But it's a website that's kind of blown itself. And I mean, it made deals with Google and got lost, but we still use them and we trust them. And this is going to also apply to your owners who want to sell an RV, because this is the place to do it. eBay. It's a separate part.
eBay.
It's a separate part of eBay. Even it's called eBay Motors. They used to do a big business, but CarMax and all those others pushed them out, and they lost their way. I don't think there are any other RV dealers other than ourselves that advertise new RVs and used RVs on eBay other than ourselves.
Is it because it's just nobody even thinks about eBay anymore, especially for buying or selling an RV, or is there another reason for it?
Oh, there's another reason for it. To get an eBay review, you must be a buyer of that product. That is to say, if you come to my site, Cheyenne Camping Center, and you buy a new or used RV, you can leave one review about that transaction, and that's all. Now, we got great reviews.
Well, you know what? Years ago, I looked, you had a couple of hundred. I mean, or...
No, it's a lot more than that. The eBay reviews are almost incorruptible. At least I've never heard of a way to corrupt them. The chains do show up on eBay, but not for a long time. Camping World gave it 2 shots. Neither one of them lasted 60 days. At the end, the only thing they were selling on their eBay site was NASCAR paraphernalia. General tried it. Oh, they all tried it.
Why do you think that is?
Because within a month, they were getting reviews that were excoriating them. They were like flamethrower hot, because the people that had been through the process with the chains were telling the truth on a platform where it was viewed.
And it couldn't be manipulated.
No, it could not be manipulated. That also brings us to the manipulation of the prices of RVs. And oh boy.
Hey, hang on just a second. I want you to know how much I appreciate you taking the time to just talk about the game, how the whole thing works, because the smart people, you have smart people that work for you and smart people that buy from you. But understanding the game will allow you to be what I call a happy camper. Instead of just crossing your fingers and walking into the big chain store and saying, ooh, look at the American flag. Okay.
Well, then just follow look at most people. I always say that humans got a sixth sense. And the sixth sense is your ability to detect subterfuge, deception. You had to have that ability. All animals deceive. We have to. The caterpillar that adopts a different color is deceiving. The caterpillar doesn't have many neurons. The more complex the critter is, the more complex the deception. So naturally, we're the worst deceivers.
Wow.
So if your sixth sense tells you that that fellow at Bish's is not telling you the truth, believe your sixth sense. Go with it. Or you could be like a Missouri and show me. When you buy something, make them show you how it works before you sign the papers, before you surrender the money. That's the only way. But we should talk about...
Go back to values. Go back to talking about the values, because
right.
I hear people talking about the book says this, the book says that.
Oh, golly, we did an expose on the book. The book used to belong to the National... There is only one.
J.D. Power, yes?
It's now National Automobile Dealers Association, a non-profit organization, sold the RV value guide to something called J.D. Power some years ago. I think it was 6 years ago. Now, our firm had been a contributor to NADA, their monthly survey of RV prices, for more than 30 years. and were we paid for doing that work? You fill out a form each month. It says, this is what we had, this was its condition, this is how much it sold for really. Yeah, we got a free subscription.
So that was your, as a dealer.
Yes.
Yeah, that was your responsibility.
And there were pages of us. If you went to the old NADA book, there were all these dealers from all across the country that were contributors and telling NADA what the stuff was really selling for.
You think they were telling the truth?
It was close enough. I was there. And there was regional differences. Sure, stuff always sold for more in California than it did in Iowa.
Yeah.
But yes, but then J.D. Power bought them. And they stopped paying any attention to the reports we were sending in. Some of these RVs are very thinly traded. There's not very many of them around. 1 or 2 are sold in a year. And they were not showing up in the report at all. And after it went by for a couple of years, well, I'm a suspicious sort. I started thinking that maybe if the book values are being overstated in such an egregious manner, that there might be some people that were
benefiting
or being offended.
Mm.
Now, what if a bank is, or credit unions are more at risk, are basing the loan values, the amount that they'll issue as a loan, on a fake or fraudulent book value? They're saying that the book value of this particular RV is, right now, more often than not, twice what it really is. Now, how do I know what it really is? Because I use eBay. Yeah. And eBay, the whole market, United States and Canada, is going to tell me how much that one or one like it sold for. And I keep the records going back years. I can do the deflators and all that stuff. When J.D. Power's numbers diverged from NADA numbers, all kinds of mischief could ensue. When I look at a list, I look at the list of the local Camping World dealer. They got like over 100 used RVs on their lot. And some of them match up in description to the new RVs that we sell from Forest River. And I go down the list of what their price is on these used ones. And if it's 4 or even 5 years old, Camping World wants the same amount of money or more than what we're advertising online to sell them for new. Now, what's the game? Well, the game has to do with scarcity. If it's a used RV, it is by definition a unique proposition. There's not another year, make, and model like that one.
Right.
And so the salesmen, it always goes back to the salesmen, are trained to pound on this. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, you got to buy this one today because there's only one like this anywhere. And you told me you like it, and I'll give you a heck of a deal. I'll sell it to you for only 180% of book value.
And then it happens.
It happens, and then it's got all of those non-physical assets, those non-value assets stacked on top.
Well, you know what? And I know that where you're going with this, folks. I have a letter here that's dated in January of 2022, so it's going on almost 4 years old.
Oh yeah.
All right, and this is a letter from Cheyenne Camping Center to the editorial staff at J.D. Power. It took guts. I'm telling you.
No, this
Kevin
is
Frazer.
not guts. If there was a class action suit for these...
Well, hang on. Let me read the letter first. I mean, just to have the cojones to do what you do, to say what you say, to call a spade and be honest about it and not ugly. It's so commendable. This is to the editorial
Very nice,
staff.
but this was fear.
I understand, but we'll explain that in a second. The correspondence represents our second attempt to resign from your recreational vehicle dealer advisory board. You were on the board.
For 30 years. It was NADA when we joined.
When managed by NADA, the RV values displayed under trade-in and retail headings were increasingly ridiculous. Under the administration of J.D. Power, your conclusions have gone beyond the absurd and entered the realm of legally actionable. I've submitted valuation reports without effect yet. Our company remains on page B1 of the current blah, blah, blah. Please delete all references to Cheyenne Camping Center in print and electronic J.D. Power publications. Sincerely, blah, blah, blah. And what did they, and this was your second attempt to,
Yeah, we disappeared after the second attempt.
okay, but it took you 2 attempts to get your name removed. Why did you do that besides you said this ain't right? Because you were afraid.
Let us imagine that there is a litigation. Who would be a complainant? Well, let's say the National Association of Credit Unions suddenly finds that they have a book of used RVs that range in age from 5 to 10 years old, that the collateral value is only a fraction of what they made loans on. Or suppose the insurance industry is paying out claims for total losses on RVs that are, the paid claim is far in excess of the market value. Or imagine that a group of, well, you see where this is going.
Yes, I do.
Now, if it was assembled as a class, you know,
And you're on the board.
and I'm on the board, I'm in the class.
That's why you want it off.
That's fear. That's fear. Look at, we talk about lawyers, but I like lawyers, but there's a lot of lawyers I really fear. And if I get sucked into a class, there's things we don't do because there's class action suits. There's things we won't take and trade because there's class action status. We don't want to be part of that. Now, what's the downside for Cheyenne Camping Center? Well, we don't really need the book. In fact, we've been mocking the book for a long time because of our participation in the auctions. The market tells us what things are worth. And as long as I stay with the market, I don't have very many used ones. And what else? When I sell a used one, I'm selling it to a happy buyer who knows they paid a fair price. That's the difference. But wow, if you go and look, we haven't even talked about this. You said, how do I know whether I can trust a particular dealer? Well, if they're on eBay, you can check them, but you can check them on Piss Consumer and Google reviews and stuff like that too. But now, you've got a powerful tool that is only just becoming well known. You can go look at Chat or Manus or Grok and say, should I buy from this dealer? Now, a lot of lawyer words in the answer, an incredible number of lawyer words. Boy, those lawyer words are everywhere. But what you get down to when you read those recommendations from the artificial intelligence is, look, we can't tell you not to go there, but don't go there. That's what it says.
You know what? I did that. I did that, and I was kind of afraid, I must tell you, because I don't know what Chat's going to say. I entered it in, and I said, without putting my opinion or a spin on it.
Oh, no, you can't.
Is Camping World a good place to buy a new RV? And the response was something like, Camping World has 200 locations, blah, blah, blah. It's known as the blah, blah, blah. However.
When you get to the second page.
And you get, however, it's like, and then I said, that made sense. And then I said, is Cheyenne Camping Center a good place to buy a new RV? And it says, Cheyenne Camping Center is blah, 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 Iowa, been family owned, da, 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 da. Yes, basically it said yes. They're known for honesty and being around, same family. And it's like, oh my God, you can't buy that. I mean, you earn that. And that's, I think, being around since 1966 or whatever, you guys have earned that reputation. And Camping World, I don't think, ever will.
But Camping World doesn't want to.
They don't care.
They don't care. Camping World has a business model that's about non-repetitive sales. Every sale at Camping World is a conquest. They're pushing used ones right now.
Oh.
For the last couple of years. Why? That proposition that it's unique and we can layer all this crap on top of a fraudulent value and still get some idiot bank to buy it.
Yep.
And that idiot bank is being, somebody that's a temporary employee at the bank is going to make a bonus for building this big book and then poof, they're gone. That's what's going on. Camping World and all the other chains are also doing, if they don't have the right used ones, they got private label RVs.
Oh, yeah.
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 Again, a unique value proposition. You have to buy this from us because we're the only ones that sell them. Well, why are you the only ones that sell them? Well, because we're unique. Well, what's superior about your unique product? It is, and you can't get it anywhere else. Well,
So in other words, it's a non-answer.
if you go to the grocery store and you splurge and buy a can of corn, that quite a disappointment versus Green Giant, you're out a can of corn.
Right.
But if you buy an RV, trouble begins, because those private label are purchased on a contract basis, and the manufacturer is different mostly every year. Now, you've been around the RV business long enough to know that one of the biggest problems is parts, especially parts on older RVs. Wouldn't you say that?
Yes.
Although new ones too. There's no part support for those private label things. You get a crash on a 5-year-old, there's not really anything that can be done. And that's already affecting insurance rates.
So these private labels,
Are just as bad as overpriced used ones.
who is more to blame for the current condition and the attitude, I guess, of
Oh, it's the
when people-
dealers. It's all the dealers.
The dealers. I
It's
was
the
going to ask,
dealers.
is it the manufacturers or dealers? 'Cause
The dealers are running wild because there's no franchise agreements. They're just running wild. They're doing whatever they want. We talked about all the litigation that's going on. And who gets sued? In my direct experience, if somebody thinks they've got a lemon, they sue the manufacturer and the dealer. And in my experience, the dealer immediately throws the manufacturer under the bus.
Absolutely.
And it's the deep pockets, and pretty soon you've got the dealer testifying against the manufacturer, and so there's no justice in that.
But
system.
it's not the manufacturer all the time. It's the dealer that, like you said, gets an RV, hadn't even washed the damn thing. It's been sitting on the lot for a year or more.
Sometimes it's had parts
You know,
robbed off.
and here's another one. The dealer says to the owner, the buyer, well, have you, checked the seals and been up on the roof? Well, the dealer never did it.
Yeah.
And the dealer doesn't even do it while it's sitting on the damn lot, but they're going to blame you for not doing what they were supposed to do. And it's that finger pointing. It just kills me.
But if you're an organization like Camping World that doesn't care about your customer and doesn't care about repeat business, you just want the problem to go away and you'll move on to fleece the next victim. What Marcus Lemonis has been asked many times that I've heard in conferences with investors. What's your ratio of repeat business? I've told you we score at 70, and in tough times it goes up. I found out last year, and this is double source, so I think it's true, their repeat business runs around 1.3%.
So it's nothing.
Because, well, and there's more than one reason for that. One, people will never go near them after the experience they've had. And two, they're buried so deep they can never pay it off. No, it's a horrible situation. Now, if we had franchise contracts, franchise agreements, Forest River would step in and say, you can't do that to your customers. We can't afford what it's doing to our reputation.
But wouldn't you think a manufacturer, I think if I was somebody at Forest River or Thor, and I can see people getting their eyes gouged out, I would sit down with the dealer and say, look,
They do try. They do try. The boss now at Forest River is Douglas Getter.
Yep.
He keeps extracting from all of these chains promises that they're going to clean up their act. And those promises are just as valuable as the ones that they made to their customers. Now, Doug Getter is mindful of the need for franchise agreements. And that move in Texas has his fingerprints on it. And the national move, he's involved. So, and Doug is really a good guy. He's got, he has a moral compass that always points true north. So I trust him. And if he stays around enough, we'll end up with some kind of franchise agreement, I think.
Whoever is the manufacturer that steps forward, I believe, call me stupid, naive.
Winnebago has a franchise agreement. Kinda. It's so one-sided
yeah.
that nobody pays any attention.
But if someone in the RV world really has a franchise agreement where they really stand behind the product,
with arbitration, so that both sides are treated
yes,
fairly.
yes. Instead of, well, you got to come to
Now
the
you
state
got to
of
do it the
Illinois,
Winnebago way, or just yeah.
But if somebody does that, they will lead the way, and I think that the consumer will support them. I think.
In Pete Legal's later years, his quest was to improve the quality of Forest River products so that they separated themselves from the pack. But he's getting tugged down by all these market forces all the time. And lamentably, he passed on without getting that done. But his goal was to get to a warranty that was like a car warranty. So you wouldn't be enticed by these ESPs until after it was 3 years old, where a real market would develop.
Right.
But he couldn't get it done because of all these cross currents and all these conflicts of interest. But I think Doug Gettert's going that way.
Okay, I got a question and situation. I know that many of your buyers, they're smarter than the average bear. They're more methodical. They do their homework. Is it because they were burned before, or is it because they're just those kind of cautious people?
Yeah, the latter. There's people that are never going to be taken in. It's not because they're from Missouri. It's because they somehow early days learned to be skeptical without being a skeptic. And that's the kind of people that we want as a customer. The person that knows if it looks like it's too good to be true, it's wrong. Yeah, that's about right.
I have a question, and it is about attitudes of customers. I'm seeing people are more edgy. I don't know what it is. I'm seeing some people are absolutely unreasonable, more so than in the past. Are you sensing that the consumer out there is, I don't know, they have heard enough horror stories? To me, some of them seem to be too entitled. Maybe their expectations are too high. I'm not sure if my rambling makes any sense, but there seems to be a change in the attitude of some RV buyers compared with pre-COVID.
Compared with 10 years, 40 years ago, no. This waxes and wanes, but and I have people on my staff that complain that people have become too nitpicky, is a common phrase here in Iowa, right? And I remind them that those are the people that keep us sharp. No, if they're completely unreasonable and half out of their minds, they're not going to want to do business with us anyway. But the ones that are paying attention, the skeptics, that's the customer we want. And you, if you're not particularly skeptical, want to shop at a place where skeptics go. How many times?
It's true.
How many times have you been advised, oh yeah, you got to get this from here. And you say, oh, he's really a bastard. I will do that.
Huh.
It's true.
It is true.
If you got somebody that is, and you know who they are, the Spiral Notebook Commandos, but if they say to you, I did all my research and these guys are the real deal, you believe them.
Yeah.
So that's okay. That's okay.
Well, that's why you have 70% or higher.
But there's a subset, and I don't think you're talking about the subset. The subset is the people that have been badly emotionally scarred by being ripped off by somebody else. And that's a different circumstance.
Maybe that's who I'm talking about, because
that's who you're exposed to on air. Those people have been badly mauled. It's almost like a wild animal clawed them. And they have a different attitude. And they have a different attitude because they want some payback. Now, I have sympathy for them, knowing that it's really professional grifters that took them. But they allowed themselves to be taken sometimes.
Right. And it's hard to say, I see people that are maybe not doubly upside down, or, where their loan is twice what the thing is worth, but sometimes pretty dang close. And they want to accept no responsibility for putting themselves.
No, they just want to be out of it.
Right. How do I fix it? You're the wingman. Go ahead and can you tell me how to fix it?
Without a time machine. You got to just. How many things have I done that have been really stupid? Okay. My philosophy on decisions is make them as fast as you can so you got more time to correct your mistakes.
You think so?
When it comes to deciding on who to do business with, you really have to trust your sixth sense. And then don't pay for it if it's something like an RV or a suit of clothes until it's been demonstrated to be what it was represented. Try it on. One sleeve shorter than the other one, you don't pay for it.
You know, I make a lot of phone calls to your customers. You know that. and one of the things that stands out about Cheyenne, you know, I'm just saying that people say, well, you save $5,000 or sometimes $10,000. We saved all this money. And I'll ask them that, is that the only reason that you went to Cheyenne? And that may be the reason in the beginning. But after they leave, they say it was the best walkthrough, the most thorough walkthrough. They showed me everything. They took their time. They made sure that I understood. And I think that's so critically important because many of these dealers, especially the big chains, you know, it's like as soon as the deal's done, have a nice life. Get out of here.
Forest River doesn't get sued by Cheyenne Camping Center customers. Forest River doesn't worry about Cheyenne customers because they're taken care of. We do a double prep on everything we sell.
I know you do. Explain that so people that are watching.
Okay, there's a preliminary prep where one of our aces, a guy that's been around for a long, long time, the RV arrives from Forest River. He does the memorandum where he marks every single thing that could be wrong with it, or is wrong with it, or is missing. And that becomes...
Upon arrival.
Upon arrival, the same day. And then Real Prep gets a hold of it with that heads up, these things are possible, and they do the deep dive. And by the time it's done, customer comes and works everything. They try out everything. It's not going to be some of the stuff that gets out. But you're the one that does these exposés about how things, they're leaving lots dangerous, really dangerous.
I know.
And
the lawyers will go after the manufacturer, generally speaking.
Pockets.
But it's the deeper pockets.
Except there's the other trend. That same phalanx of ferocious lawyers that works for Camping World also scares the willies out of the manufacturer. Scares the willies out of the lawyers that represent those who've been aggrieved. No, the manufacturer's easy to go after. That's why. Plus, the chains are throwing... I see them throw Forest River under the bus all the time. I assume it happens with all of them.
I just can't... I don't know the workings, you know, what goes on at the tippy top conversations of these manufacturers. But there's got to be a part of them that says these.
Oh, they're disgusted.
These dirty bastards.
They're disgusted. But it also is really screwing up the bottom line and the price of RVs.
And it's screwing up the future of the RV industry.
Absolutely.
The future sales. When somebody gets their eyes gouged out, they're never going to buy another RV again. And then when they find that somebody at work is, we're going to buy an RV, don't do it.
Don't do it, you'll regret it.
Don't do it. It is bad for the future of the industry. It's bad.
But the big chains are only about to hit one.
Right now.
One and you're done. Who was the guy from Camping World who recently told me, oh, he used to be the general manager of the Camping World in Chicago.
Oh.
Yeah. They closed that store. It wasn't open very long. I don't know why they closed it. He wouldn't tell me either. But he said to me that we've been told over and over again that our business philosophy is one and done. So you got to get everything you can right up front. They're not making no bones about it. They're telling their managers it's one and done. If you don't care about any future business, you're burning down the orchard anyway. You don't care. You're harvesting the trees for firewood. You don't care. And so if they burn the manufacturers along the way, that's just part of the business model.
Okay, along those lines, I just talked to a Camping World guy. Hopefully I'm going to have him on, an ex-Camping World salesperson who sold a $37,000, I can't remember what it was, $37,000 brand new travel trailer. Turned him over to finance. When the guy left, he talked to the finance guy, said, how did the closing go? He said, it went great. We added $17,000 to the price. of a $37,000 RV.
That's not even the most egregious example.
Adding $17,000 to a $37,000 camper that the moment it drives off the lot, it's worth $30,000, maybe.
How many ads have you seen for Camping World on Fox News?
Endless.
Travel trailers from $76 a month.
Yeah, $100 a month forever.
The salesman does not get a paycheck for selling one of those unless the payment at the end exceeds $250. Let me repeat that. No payday for you, Mr. Salesman, unless the $76 becomes $251.
And that happens in the F&I office, in the boxes,
yeah.
they say, right? And so they're all kind of part of the deal. And this guy says that he finally had enough. In fact, he contacted me 6 months ago and said he was, embarrassed to work and to see some of the things he saw.
Well, it's got to be corroding your soul. If you're working in a place, I've talked to some of these people.
Really? They come.
Oh,
Tell me, come on, Daddy, tell me.
Okay, I had a spate of former Camping World and sales people who came and applied for positions here. Now, I get them from everywhere. You know how cloistered this place is. You gotta make your bones to be able to stay here. Everybody, the shortest term salesman I got's been here 5 years, okay? Most of them have been here 20. Anyway, when I had this wave of salespeople, some very strange things were going on. One of the prospective employees brought his wife with him. I found that very weird. But they were all telling me how horrible Camping World was. This was a group of 3 over the span of about a month. And each one of them thought that they would enhance their chances of employment here at Cheyenne by telling me detailed stories.
How they participated in the scam?
No, how they embezzled from Camping World.
Really?
They thought that would ingratiate them with me. They thought I would be more likely to hire them because they damaged Camping World through embezzlement. They thought they were proud of it. Now, how far do you got to go down the corroded soul to get to that point? Now,
wow.
How many of the 3 you think got hired?
About 0.
Yeah, about 0.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's what a place like that does to a person. It makes them think cockeyed, crazy.
There's so many people, everybody's got an attitude and opinion and all that kind of stuff, but there are people that will watch this and say, it's only about selling. Well, that's how you make a living, is you sell campers, you sell trailers. But it's more than that. It's you don't stay in business since the 60s.
No. Since for 5,000 years. There has to be a salesman and a foreman or nothing goes. There has to be a salesman and a foreman or nothing gets done.
But, you've been around for so long. Of course you want to sell. Of course you do. But you're just trying to help other people.
And stay in business, please.
Yeah. Like to sell a camper every now and then.
Yeah.
So it's more than price, it's value. And to me, if you're only paying attention to price, don't do that. First off,
it won't be that price.
It won't be that price.
No, here it is.
Yeah, it is
here.
It
is.
But this is like one of the only places that
Kevin, they're increasingly infrequent.
I know that. I ask people about the price. And I say, well, did it change when you got to Iowa? Is it the same? Oh, it's the same as they did. Say everything was the same. How much of a deposit did you have to put down? Well, they didn't make us put down a deposit. We just went and, it was like the old days. People, you shake their hand and...
Well, nowadays it's an electronic handshake.
Yeah.
But yes, we're going to be here. We're going to do it. And if we don't prove out, fire us. This happens all the time. On Saturday, one of the guys, Todd, had someone call in. Said, the guy in Indiana's got you beat by $9,000. What are you going to do about it?
Wow.
And Todd says, well, we don't do business that way. We set our prices at a level that maybe gets us into the black ink by December, but we're not going to mess with you. This is the price. We're not going to lie to you. This is the price. He got a call today from the wife, not the husband, the wife saying.
Of the same people? The
Yeah. So you were right. That wasn't a real deal. And they started the paperwork.
So this kind of takes me back to where we started. Where are we going, and how do we get out of this?
Oh, that's coming unraveled as we speak. If you're asking me how do we get rid of the bad actors, that's just education. That's you on the internet. Unless the attorneys generals of the various states, and we didn't even talk about the fact that we got the federals are supposed to be doing this, unless they wake up and join a class action suit, a dozen AGs led by Oregon or something go after one chain and clean that one up by sanction and terrible legal process, well, no, that's going to change. But it would really only take one. If one is sanctioned severely, the others will clean up. After the truth came out in 2018, and we revealed all of the unlawful crap that was going on, with particular emphasis on paying one price if you paid for it by taking out a loan with Camping World, but paying a higher price if you insisted on paying it for it with a check with cash.
Right.
That is clearly unlawful under every state and every federal law. We released that video in January of 18. During show season of 2018, all the signs at every show in the country that said, it's this price with cash, it's this price if you finance with us, they all came down, they all disappeared. For that whole show season, they weren't enforcing, or at least not telling anybody about it. But no AG did anything about it. Nobody at the federal level did anything about it.
So you say it's unraveling. So
and then a year later, all those signs are back, but they're not just at Camping World.
Oh, yes.
Now they're everywhere. It's a different price.
But it's still illegal.
Absolutely, and has been for a long time.
So how does it unravel? How do we come out of it?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
if an AG or a group of AGs get together and sanction, punish, drag one of them through the kind of hell that they've drug all their customers through, the other chains will get the message that they could be next. That's it. Barring that, you got brave Doug Gettard at Forest River working hard to get franchise agreements. If Forest River gets a franchise agreement that's enforceable, both sides, friendly to the dealer and the manufacturer, at least an arbitration, then you can say, well, geez, maybe I should buy only a Forest River, and that will bring everybody else on board.
No, yeah.
Yeah. And then Pete Legal's dream of taking it from a 1-year warranty to a 2-year and then a 3-year will be affordable, because all the money that would pay for that longer warranty is now going to lawyers and actions. That's where it's all going. When I hear the numbers about how much lawyer fees or how much of a price of an RV is lawyers because of the bad actors, I refuse to believe it because it's too depressing.
I don't ever see anything from RVIA, press releases.
Oh, they're useless. Yeah. Like so many quasi-government institutions, nonprofit organizations, they're a ship that sails for the benefit of the crew. They raise money and pay themselves salaries. Do they do anything? They
spend money.
The tiny little change in the tax code so that we RV dealers could deduct the interest that we paid on our floor plans for travel trailers and fifth wheels, which accidentally slipped into the tax bill of 17. And I've read the code. It could be interpreted either way. No, you can't deduct that. RVIA told us dealers, whoa, yeah, that's foul. We'll fix that within a month. It was fixed in the great big beautiful bill this summer.
In 2025.
Yeah.
Only took 8 years.
8 years to right away.
Right.
That's how valuable the RVIA RVDA is.
But me as a consumer, I'm paying extra money
to get that goofy little symbol.
Yeah, isn't that
and
nice?
Now that goofy little symbol represents a code. And maybe the manufacturers would go off that code and start making completely irresponsible crap. But they get sued, so I don't think so. So maybe that's not necessary. But that is a source of revenue. Every time you get one of those little ovals, you got to pay through the nose for it.
Okay, last question. Cheyenne Camping Center was the first one in when things went to crap. But it appears that things are getting a little bit better.
Yeah, all my guys are on board with that. We had a couple of false starts, especially last year. But it feels, I know that's nebulous, but it feels like it's coming back. When do I think we're going to be running on all cylinders? The middle class has got to be worth more money. We were just talking about the big, beautiful bill that passed earlier this year. That's going to put, on average, about $3,700 in tax relief in every family's pocket. It happens to be an RV payment, doesn't it? Now, interest rates might come down. I think they will. And things are going to get better just because there's a lot of people that have been putting this off for a long time because they couldn't afford to do anything.
There's a lot of people that want to buy an RV. If they can find the right RV, if they can afford it, if they find a good dealer.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who want to buy a house and a car too, all for the same reasons. Interest rates down, income's up. I think in 26, did I timestamp something wrong?
No. I mean,
I think that's
26 is a good target.
it could be an interesting year.